Hello people of the tube, welcome to PlayStation Racer. My name is Mitchell Morgan and today I have a very different introduction to this video because we have a very different race on our hands today. We're heading back to Spa and the 24-hour layout for a race that has just about everything. We start at the back of the grid as usual and we have to fight our way through to the front during the course of the race. But it has some really hard racing, bumping, scraping, some silly spins, weather, day to night today, and with weather at night, which is something I have never experienced before. To top it off, I make a great pit stop call, only to make the wrong judgment call for a later pit stop that makes for a very difficult last lap. A mistake that teaches me the valuable lesson of keeping all four wheels in the drying line at all times. This is an hour-long race and I was planning to do a short highlight video. However, I have decided to put the whole race online as a personal memory and reference for the future. For that reason, I will include copious chapter markers in the description below to enable you to jump through the video and to catch the highlights that you want to see. But before we get into the race, can I please ask that you hit the like button for this video and that you also hit the subscribe button if you're not already following me. It will help me out massively and I will be hugely grateful. I have many plans for this channel and as soon as I can back off with the marketing, I'll be able to concentrate more on improving my recording equipment and spending more time on the channel content itself. And this includes things like live streaming that's coming very soon, the possibility of a league of sorts, something that I'm just thinking through in my head at the moment, but more importantly, answering more of your questions and much more besides. Anyway, please hit those two buttons and in the meantime, I'm going to get into the race. So here we go, we're going to head into the world circuits and then we're going to head across to Europe. But before we do that, I'm just going to do my usual and drop into options and make sure that we've got the race difficulty set to hard, which we have, so we're good. So we'll just come out of there, we'll go into Europe and across to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And the final race that we need to do, which is the World Touring Car 800. I'm going to use the Honda NSX with the new livery. The suspension and differential settings you can see there. I've got the output adjustment to 90, ballast 0 and power restrictor of 90. That's basically to get the performance points to under the 800 that is mandatory requirement of this particular race. So here we go, this is an hour-long race, doesn't matter how many laps we do. We're on the Spa 24-hour layout, and let's see if we can get to the front of the pack by the checkered flag. Now, the other thing I should point out is you do need to make sure you've got the intermediate and the wet tyres available to us, because as I found out the first time I ran this race, we ran into weather and I didn't actually have those tyres available to me, which was not very clever. So we're just coming down into Eau Rouge and I get the opportunity to overtake the Porsche on the right hand side there. And we've also then got the Ford GT and the Alfa Romeo as we head down the Camel Straight. Now you'll notice that I am on power setting 3. I wasn't really quite sure which power setting to use and I could probably have just used power setting 1. But I like the feel of this car for power setting 3 and 4. So that was the reason why I decided to choose that. That also gave me around about 14 laps of fuel, which meant that I could get a fair way into the race without having to worry about fuel saving or fuel or anything like that, especially as I didn't really know when that weather was coming. So for now, I'm just working my way through the traffic. We're up to 16th place at the moment. We are 11 seconds behind the leader at the moment. And if we're going to be going for the long strategy with maybe just one stop for tyres, then I really want to try and keep within 20 to 30 seconds of the leaders. When we get round this lap, I will just take you through my chosen gears, turning points, etc. But there is an awful lot of time for us to do all of those things and to explore the lap in a lot more detail. As I said before, I will include chapter markers below so that you can jump through the less interesting parts of this race, because once we get through the traffic, things will hopefully settle down. and I'll just be running on my own for a while. That might or might not be the case, we will have to see. So just going down the inside of these cars, or I should say the outside as we approach the chicane. This is all important to get through here as best we can so that we can get a good run down to the first corner. So as we come across the line, we're just coming up through the gears, and at this point I'm watching for the 50-meter board, braking just before that down into second gear, trying not to hit the wall, which I did on that occasion, which was the first of my errors. You'll see that we've got damage to the front bumper and the what I refer to as the offside front wheel in the UK, but the right hand front wheel. So we're just going to need to be a little bit careful whilst we are waiting for that damage to repair itself. It didn't seem to impact us too much as we went through Eau Rouge. Just getting into the slipstream of the BMW in front of us to try and get a run on that car into this corner. Third gear for this one, using the curbs on the way in and normally the curbs on the way out, but I didn't use too much there because I am trying to regulate my speed for the AMG in front. A chance to overtake the AMG down the inside. You don't really need to do that at this stage in the race. That's a very, very aggressive overtake on those two cars, and really you can't do, three into that corner, doesn't go. So I almost definitely barged a few people there, even though I've got no damage recorded on the damage scale. However, we're going to get through the traffic quickly enough that you do not really need to take silly moves like that. Obviously playing against the AI, who's going to care? And the AI, they can be pretty robust in this race as well. So I didn't worry about it too much, but if you're going to be playing in sport mode online, those are definitely moves that you can't do. And because I'm going to be going online shortly playing in the daily races, I've really got to get out of the habit of trying those particular moves. So anyway, let's get back to the race in hand. We're in 5th position at the moment, 6 seconds off the leader, so we're making some good headway as we come down to finish lap number 2. The car in front is about 2 seconds ahead, but we are going to close up, and the car behind about 3. So we're in a little bit of space at the moment, which is really good. So let's try and talk through that lap one more time. We've come across the line. We are going to build up through the gears as quickly as we can, watching for around about the 70-meter board. So just after the 100 I start to brake, down into second gear for that corner. And you can use quite a bit of the curb as long as you don't hit the wall like I did. Up through the gears, and then I tend to stay over towards the left, and I like to take a lot of this first curb into Eau Rouge. That sets me up nicely to keep it within the lines as we go through Eau Rouge flat in 5th gear, and then up into 6th gear as soon as we can, using the slipstream from Fraga in front of us. So watching now from the beginning of the curve, bury the brakes, down into 3rd gear, just try and use some of the curbs. Again, I'm trying to negotiate this car, which is compromising my braking and lines, etc. Hopefully we'll be able to get down the inside into this next corner. No, that didn't happen. He closed that off and saw that move coming. So 2nd gear, just for rotation through this corner, up into 3rd, halfway down this curb, aim for that particular curb, and we got massively out of shape across the sausage there. Got that completely wrong, which completely threw the car up in the air. More damage to the front and the offside front wheel. So we're just going to need to manage that whilst we get on the back of Fraga. As you see the curb on the left hand side there, slow it down using the bollards on the right, the bollards on the left. Again, I'm just following Fraga through here, just trying to get a little bit of a toe. Beginning of the curbs there, down into 3rd gear again, watching for the bollards on these curbs. Lead us in 3rd through here, using that bollard as a marker for the middle of the corner, and then once you got through there, up in the 4th gear, then up into 5th, and it's flat through here all the way to the braking point for the chicane. Using the green section here, you've got some black marks which will give you the indicator of where to turn in, but don't put all 4 wheels over the line where the green bit is, because you'll get a track limit penalty. Down into 2nd gear for the chicane, using all of the curves, and then we want to get on the back of the Subaru, and that is 1 lap of Spa 24-hour course. That was a 2:21, which isn't overly quick. I really want to be doing about 2:15s, 2:16s, so more time to find. But we are working our way through the traffic, which can account for some of that. I apologise if I'm a bit sniffy and my voice is a bit croaky. Hopefully it's going to manage to last throughout this race. I'm struggling a little bit with hay fever today, and probably have a drink of water from time to time during the quiet periods of this race, and periods that we are sort of heading into very, very soon. We're up into 3rd place now, 9 seconds behind the car in front, and chasing down Kokubun in front of us. And I apologise if I'm calling out these names and I get anybody's name wrong. I really, really apologise. I must do some research on these names and how to pronounce them correctly. So closing up under braking on the Mazda in front. Again, just drift across to the right hand side, halfway down that curve, pick up the apex 3rd gear, up into 4th, and sometimes I'll do 4th, sometimes I'll do 5th through here, depending on how we're doing. So I've gone 4th because the angle of attack was a little bit more acute than normal. Let that run, and you can just see how much time you can make up on the AI. Underneath the banner, watch for the curb on the left hand side, down into 3rd gear, leave it 3rd through here, using the curbs all the way through. Again, 3rd gear through here. I tended to be quite nice, but don't go too wide and into the gravel like I did there. Don't try and push it too much. What I started to do was to choose 3rd gear and then not really get the power down until I'd got the car more straight, or to the point where I knew that I wasn't heading towards the gravel. Again, just being careful not to exceed the track limits, and as I ran through the race I was using less and less and less of the green runoff area on that particular curb. Down into 2nd for this one, and we're in 2nd place now, 6 seconds behind the car in front, and really we just settle down now. It's just a case of pumping in the laps, watching for braking points, turning points, just being really, really careful. And the other thing you'll notice is I have just a little while ago switched across to the weather radar so that we can keep an eye on the weather. I tended to find the weather didn't come in until lap 3, 4, 5, something like that. I think the first time I ran this race and completely messed it up, the weather came in really, really badly around about lap 3. Really annoyingly, the second time, this is the 3rd time I think I've run this one, the 2nd time that I ran this race, I got right the way to the last lap, and I did exactly what I've done in this one. I made a mistake with regards to the strategy, started throwing it off everywhere, got in a right old temper for the video and decided to abort the race and start again, which really annoyed me because I actually threw away 1.5 million credits that I should have claimed, and then just rerun and edited the video accordingly. So I think this is the 3rd full run of this race that we have done. Learning this car around here has been very interesting and very rewarding, and at this point it's not perfect. I am an average racer at best, and I do make mistakes, but I did enjoy these runs, and I enjoyed this race very much. You can see at the moment that the light is starting to fade as the sun is starting to set over the forest and the hills in the distance. So as we come up to overtake the Subaru WRX, that one, that car is going to have a go back at us. So we just left a little bit of space on the inside, managed to get that done under braking, and that puts us into 1st place. All we need to do now is keep it pointing in a straight line. Think about the weather, think about the strategy. The tyres are absolutely fine, the racing mediums are barely worn. I could probably have gone with softs, but I wanted the longevity in the tyres, which is why I went for the racing mediums. Just watch for the apex of that corner. That threw us out a little bit deep. Not too much time lost if you do get out wide there. You just want to get back on the track as soon as you can. And then we've got an opportunity to monster a rouge as the Subaru is coming back at us. Just looking in the mirror there, the Subaru was right on our back bumper, but we had a really good run through our rouge, which has put a fair amount of distance between us. 1.2 seconds, so we might have a little bit of slipstream benefit, but it doesn't look like there's too much. Late braking into this one, using all of the curbs on the way in and the way out in third gear to try and get a little bit more distance. The gap is now up to 1.7, and I should point out that I am narrating this after the fact. I really did need to concentrate too much, so I didn't want to narrate this while I was running. In hindsight, I probably could have done, but I didn't, so there we go. Using that curb on the way through there in third gear, watching out for the beginning of the curve for this corner. Just after that, probably around about the 50-meter board, I'm pushing the braking further and further out at the moment to try and build a little bit of a cushion to the Subaru behind. Currently sitting at 3 seconds as we go through here, so we are building the time difference between us quite nicely, but I'm also minded that we are losing light, and I'm also keeping an eye on the weather radar, which is completely clear right now at this point as we come around to the closing stages of lap number 6. More importantly, we're coming up for around about quarter distance, so around about 15 minutes done of this hour-long race. The racing mediums, as I said, are looking absolutely fine. The weather's looking okay at the moment. We've got the lights on, which are going to light up the track very, very, very soon. Now, the other thing that I found in this particular race is just listen to my engine and watch the turbo graphic through this race. I was managing some sort of issue all the way through this race where the turbo would just start to lose performance. Sometimes I was struggling to get up through 5th gear. Sometimes I wasn't even reaching 6th gear for some of the races, for some of the gear changes that I wanted to do. And a lot of that was down to some sort of gremlin, some sort of mechanical issue within the car. I did, after this race, just jump into another one to make sure that it wasn't my rig, because initially I thought that with all of the really heavy braking I've been doing more recently and the bending of the pedal board on my rig, because it does tend to move around a bit, I thought maybe I had broken something or something was breaking down. Thankfully that wasn't the case, but you will notice that I am managing an issue through this. So we're pretty much getting into night now. The sky isn't quite black, but you'll notice we got these massive lights at the side of the track that are lighting up parts of the track. I actually found those to be quite annoying, if I'm perfectly honest. I'd almost preferred that those lights weren't there. Ooh, a little bit of oversteer there, managed to catch that quite nicely. Yes, I would have preferred that those lights weren't there, but they do highlight some of the corners, which is quite good. So where are we at the moment? We're coming up for 10 seconds ahead of the Subaru behind us, which is quite nice. That isn't enough to do a pit stop. The weather still isn't showing on the radar, and we're on lap 7 at the moment, so I'm beginning to wonder whether we are going to get weather at all in this particular race. In which case, should I have gone full lean on the fuel, and would that have got us to the end of the race? I doubt it, so I'm not worrying about that one too much. With regards to the lap times, we've got a 2:19, 2:21, 2:19, fastest lap of a 2:15.9, which was really nice, and then 2 laps of 2:18s. I have slowed down just a little bit as we've gone into night because I'm not used to night racing, and I just wanted to make sure that we didn't do anything silly, especially as we are managing to keep the second place car. I'm pretty honest, it's down to 9 seconds at the moment. We've got a few cars starting to pit, so we've got Fraga was on softs, Both while was on mediums, so we've got a mix of tyres in here at the moment. It's going to be very interesting, their pit stop, because if you look at the weather radar, you can just about see a little bit of weather starting to come up from the south. So they probably needed to pit for tyres for good reason, in particular on the softs. I would have thought the mediums would have been fine unless they've really been eating up their tyres. I do tend to try and look after mine as much as possible. But does that mean that if the weather comes in, they're going to need to pit again, which is going to put them further behind? It looks like the Subaru behind is not pitted. Still just 12 seconds behind us at the moment, so we are slightly quicker on some of the sections but not all of the sections. So we're just going to keep on with this particular strategy. With this fuel map setting, we're just taking care around some of the corners and the like, and just try and maintain that distance to the car behind. So that weather is still just creeping in very, very slowly. At this point, I've got to think for the next pit stop, do we come in and put inters on as a precaution? Do we continue round? As we come up to the chicane here, I think that we're going to continue round. I don't think that it is time for inters right now. We're going to burn them out way too quickly. So I'm just going to see if we can get around this lap as quickly as possible. I'm just looking at the rain. It's actually coming in from the south and also from the east now. I've got a little bit deep, and I remember why I went deep, and that was because I was looking at the weather radar as I am now, rather than actually concentrating on the racing. Although you've got to watch the tyres, you've got to watch the weather radar, you've got to think about strategy, because you don't have a pit crew that are helping you in any way, shape or form. Number one when you're racing is to drive first. Never ever forget to drive. That's when you get mistakes that creep in with other distractions. But whilst you're driving, you've still got to do everything else. So now we've got Portilla and McEwen have both pitted. Interestingly, Portilla was on the hard, so we've got soft, medium and hard runners in this particular race. We went with the mediums, which was down the middle of the road, so maybe that was a good call for the strategy and for this particular race. I'm really surprised that we've got such a mix of tyres, and we're probably going to end up getting some intermediates and maybe even some wet tyres used in this race. So wouldn't it be interesting if we get every single grade of tyre in use during this particular race? So at the moment it's all a little bit steady as you go, really. We're out in front by a comfortable 17 seconds. Still not enough time to do a pit stop, but it is a comfortable margin behind, and the car behind is almost definitely going to need to stop as well. I very nearly got into the gravel there. That was an awful corner, and I remember at this stage, again, as we come up to finish this particular lap, at this stage I'm thinking, what is the weather doing? It's coming in very slowly. That teal colour we can run on slicks so long as we keep them warm or hot, but there are some dark blue splodges on that weather radar. It's way too early for intermediate tyres at the moment, so we're going to go for another lap, and we're going to need to really step it up. We've done another a 219 lap for lap number 9, but we're really going to need to step it up if we can get round before this weather comes in. So that's 20 minutes of this hour-long race done. So we're a third of the way through. 10 laps run, or we're on lap 10, I should say. So we've done 9 laps. This is the 10th lap. Tyres are still looking really good, and it looks like we're almost definitely going to be ditching them soon. I could up the fuel map to 1 at the moment and get a little bit more distance to Hizal behind. But I decided that I like the way that this car was handling right now, and I didn't really want to upset the dynamic too much, and we're maintaining the gap to the Subaru behind, so I was quite happy with that. Another car pitting with hard tyres, so a couple of them were on hards. I really don't think you need to go hard tyres in this particular race. Racing mediums was a choice for me, but I think you can quite easily do this with soft. I don't know how quickly the softs will actually wear in this particular race. That would be something that you would need to try if you want the added stickiness and added performance of those soft tyres. For me, mediums every day of the week. So we're just coming around here. We are now into some rain. No spots on the road or the windscreen at the moment that I can see. Running quite nicely on these slick tyres, but the weather radar is saying that the track should be a little bit slippery, so just taking a little bit more easy into the chicane. We're going to go around for yet another lap. Now that could have been a mistake because there is a fair amount of blue coming in, but I'm thinking at this stage that we might be able to get away with the teal colour rain on the slicks as long as we're careful, and hopefully we can get round and pit before we get those darker blue sections coming in. We haven't got any yellow or green or any of the pink and purple colour in there, so the rain is not too bad. The Subaru behind is pitting. They were on medium tyres, the same as us, so that was really good that we were managing to keep the gap to Hizal, however you pronounce that name. I apologise for getting that wrong. So we were managing that gap quite nicely, bearing in mind we were both on the same tyres. He's pitted, which is going to give us quite a good distance to the car behind. It's showing 2.9 at the moment, but I'm suspecting that that has not updated. Kokubun now is in second place, and we have updated the delta to 50 as the rain starts to come down. You can see the rain in the headlights there, an experience I've not had before. That's a really nice animation in Gran Turismo 7. I can't remember if I have ever done a night race in the wet, so this is completely new to me, and really just tiptoeing around here at the moment, just being very careful. You'll notice that I'm leaving the gear higher, and very often when it's raining I will change up early to stop the rear wheels from spinning up. The other thing to bear in mind, we are 25 minutes into this race, and I'm not used to doing hour-long races. This is double the distance that I am used to running, so I'm going to imagine that fatigue will kick in. And whilst I don't normally admit it, this is late at night. I don't want to admit it, but I think we're around about midnight at this point in this particular race. It's been a long day, and I wanted to get this race done. Gone a little bit deep there because we got the wrong tyres. That was really a judgment call to say, hey, come on in, put the intermediate tyres on now, because this is getting a little bit wet. So we'll choose the intermediates, and I'm going to leave the fuel to completely fill. I always get worried with these pit stops, because if you look at the tyres that the pit crew have got, they're not intermediate tyres, they're slick tyres. I hope that they are going to be putting inters on. They certainly should be. I've selected them, but those guys are definitely holding slick tyres. So in we come. Come on guys, we need a really good pit stop here. You can see the rain is coming down in the pit lane. It actually looks like it's getting heavier, that rain, if I'm perfectly honest. So we'll completely brim the tank. Up goes the little indicator. I don't know what they call that. Like a paddle, not quite sure. So that's gone up, and now the one thing you need to do is make sure you stay within the white lines during the exit, otherwise you will get a hefty penalty. And It's not straight and it goes on for quite a long time, this pit exit. Make sure that you keep it between the white lines, even if you sort of back off a little bit. You'll notice there that I just set the fuel map to 6. That is just really, whenever I put the intermediate tyres on and there's rain, I tend to go to fuel map 6 just because it dials the car down just a little bit. And it's just something that I do. You don't really need to. I think you could probably have got away with leaving the fuel map at 3 or 4, whatever we had it at. But I'm just erring on the side of caution. I want to bring this home in first place and get this race done without too many issues. So we've got the second place car is now pitting for hard tyres. And wow, we are 1.49 minutes ahead of the best of the rest. And he's pitting, which is going to put us even further ahead. And Yamanaka and Hizal all pitting. So that's second, third and fourth place, all pitting for tyres. I'm going to assume that they're going on to the intermediates. We've got Miyazono now, we got 6. Everybody is coming into the pit for what I am going to assume is going to be the intermediate tyres. So I think that we timed our tyre change to perfection. Absolutely perfect. It looks like Fraga and Beauvoir have continued round, so I'm going to assume that they have got intermediate tyres on already. That's just an assumption. I really do wish that we could see on the graphic at the side there the tyre that everybody's on all the time. In the real world, you would call into your pit crew and they would be able to give you that information. So I really wish I could see what tyres people were on. It would really help with strategy. It would really help with this part of the race. I mean, I am nearly 2 minutes ahead, but if I knew a little bit deep there, really don't want to get on the green and white painted areas when it's raining, because it's going to be very slippery. But I'd really love to be able to see the tyres for strategy. I'd like to know what tyre the second and third runners are on as I go wide again into that corner, just showing that even the intermediates are not really giving up enough grip at this stage in the race. So we just need to dial it back a bit, just take it a little bit easy. We don't want to be spinning, we don't want to be doing anything silly. And you'll notice that we are getting towards the end of this weather as we've got 2 cars that are joining from the pit lane. Now their tyres are not going to be up to speed at the moment, but I'm going to assume that they're on intermediates, which probably means that they're going to be warming up out of the tyre blankets. And as I was thinking, didn't actually catch up with them until we get under braking. So being very careful at the moment not to rear end the cars in front. This is new, rain at night and negotiating traffic. We have got the blue flags, but one of the things that I have found in Gran Turismo 7 is that the AI is not very forgiving under blue flag conditions. They still seem to continue to want to race their lines and basically race as they would normally. It'd be really nice if they were to adhere to the blue flags and pull off the racing line and let us through. Alas, that never really seems to be the case. We got overtaking is prohibited under the yellow flag just as I went to make that move. Not quite sure what has happened, and I tried to slow down to let that car through just to try and avoid any penalty and losing any clean race bonus, and I got moved around because obviously I was slowing down on the racing line. That car just went straight through me, and that is the AI all over. Thank you very much. I don't think that was my mistake. 99% that was a car hitting me from behind. Maybe I should have just kept going and overtaken him under the yellow flag. At the end of the day, I was lapping him. That's a pain. So we were doing really well. 13 laps halfway through the race before we get our first swap on. You can tell I'm annoyed now, just rear-ending the Lexus in front to get past those tyres. Damage on the front now. Got a little bit rattled by that incident, and I really have got to learn to not get rattled by those incidents, and I really need to settle down now. An opportunity to just calm down as we go through the chicane. The weather is clearing at the moment, so now the question is, when do we come off of the intermediates and go on to slicks? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to look at the track for the drying line. I'm going to be looking at the spray that is coming off of the cars in front, and with that amount of spray coming off of the car in front of us, I'm really going to be sticking with the inters. And you can see I've got one of the back markers are coming back trying to unlap themselves. You get a better run through Eau Rouge on the Lexus, and hopefully we'll be able to make some distance down here. But no, the Lexus has got my slipstream. We're going to have 3 cars into this corner here. We've got the Ford going around the outside. Oh, I've backed out of that big time. I don't want to get into any problems, so we've let Wilk and Kawakami just have that corner. We will live to fight another day. Where on earth did Wilk come from? You can see now that we've actually got a drying line, so we are on the inters. We might need to just hunt for a little bit of water from time to time. But looking at the gauge, we are completely fine with tyre wear on the intermediates, and the rain gauge is sitting at a 1/3, so basically intermediate tyres is the recommendation within the game. Got into the back of Kawakami as he was braking and slowed for no real reason. I do tend to find on this particular race in general that the AI cars are braking at really unusual times, you know, mid-corner, exiting corners, you know, braking there. Why are you braking at that point? You should be picking up speed through there, not braking, especially on the hard setting. I could understand if we were on the the lower settings, the easy or the normal settings, but on hard, come on guys, let's run. We're supposed to be racing. So again, those cars are still just with me at the moment, looming large in the mirrors. We've got a car going for an overtake. So both of them slowed down unnecessarily on that corner. That should be flat every day of the week, so I'm not quite sure what's going on behind. But we need to concentrate on just getting through the chicane here and getting this lap done. We've got a very, very, very clear dry line forming right now. I'd like to see that dry line a little bit wider throughout the whole of the lap. So I'm just sticking with the intermediate tyres at the moment, but we are going to need to watch to see how much time we lose to the car behind. Again, I'm not sure what tyres they're on, but 123 at the moment to the car behind, so just keep an eye on that. The lap times that we're doing, we had after the pit stop, we're a 3:15 for the pit lap, then we got a 3:02 and a 2:36, so we're definitely picking up the pace on these intermediate tyres as the track dries. No weather on the weather map at the moment, which is adding to the quandary of what do we do with regards to tyres. It's always in racing all about the tyres and being on the right tyre at the right time. We made a great judgment call earlier on, which put us on to the intermediates just at the right time. That has given us a really nice lead that we can manage this race with. Absolutely no point in hammering around these corners and being silly, just looking for a little bit of moisture to cool the tyres at the moment. One of the things again I really wish was in the game, where you've got the tyres where it's showing the tyre wear, I would love to see blue to green, whatever, showing the temperature of your tyres. For instance, if these tyres were overheating now, I'd be looking for more water, but I really haven't got the clue. Oh, we got a big slide on there, still sliding, struggling to get the power down. The car behind, the Lexus behind, made up a load of time as I was fighting the steering wheel there. I thought that that was going to go round, so that was a, I wouldn't say it was a good save, but it was a reasonable save, although I guess Saving any spin is a good save, so I'll take that one. You can see that my confidence has been rocked a little bit, and the Lexus is right on us at this point as we come up to the final chicane to finish off lap 15. 23 minutes to run in this race, so we are coming up to 2/3 distance as the sun comes up and the sky begins to lighten. The headlights of the car having less and less effect with every moment. Gone a little bit deep into that corner. Just got it onto the wet stuff and the marbles, but we're still on the intermediate tyres at the moment. It doesn't look like anybody else is pitting at the moment, but the weather indicator is definitely dropping off. So maybe we will be favouring the slicks very, very soon, or do we take the intermediate tyres to the end of the race? Large parts of this track are really dry now. The Camel Straight there is very, very, very dry. If we come into this chicane again, very dry through here. Not quite sure how wet the curbs are, but we can quite easily stay off the curbs. Oh, the curbs are actually quite wet. You could see the spray coming up off of the car in front. So the curbs and the white lines are still very, very damp. So at this stage I'm going to give them a little bit of respect and try and stay off them, he says, as he puts the near side tyres on the curb there. A little bit of moisture around this part of the track, but a definite dry area to race within. Oh, we've gone a little bit deep there. I think we just got the tyres just ever so slightly on the wet stuff and punted by the AI yet again with a big spin. What on earth was that? Was that a 270? It was a big old spin. Punted by the AI behind. Bearing in mind, we're out in front, we've lapped these cars, they're under blue flags, and what on earth are they doing hitting me? They should be being extra cautious. So it looks like a lot of the cars were on intermediate tyres. I'm assuming that they're coming in for slicks. So do we come in for slicks now, or do we continue on the intermediates? The dampness gauge where we are actually in the drying part of the track is definitely showing that we should probably be looking at slicks now. It's only very slightly indicating inters. But you'll notice very occasionally where I get the tyre onto a curb or just slightly off the dry line, that it really jumps up. You could see there that it almost dropped to 0, and then it was way up to about 50%, that weather indicator. What is it through here? As we go slightly offline, you can see that the dampness indicator, the weather indicator, jumping right the way up to midway again. So the issue that I have is if we go onto slicks and we don't manage to keep exactly on the dry line, is the car going to go around really quickly, and are we going to lose a lot more time? So should we just seek out a little bit of water from time to time and stick with these intermediates for the next 20 minutes? Or should we come in and pit? Looking at the dampness indicator, which drops off to absolutely 0 there before jumping up as we go through the corner, this really is saying slicks right now. But look at the weather radar. We've got more weather coming in. So those cars that have just pitted, theoretically they've gone on to slick tyres. Are they going to have to pit again for another set of wet weather tyres? Have we made the right decision by just being a little bit undecided and just giving it another lap and another lap just to see how we do? Have we just made the right decision to stay out on these intermediate tyres? They're still wearing really nicely. So Adonis was on intermediates and come in. What on earth is he going to go on? Solis as well was on the intermediate tyres, now in the pits. Are they going to be changing on to slicks? Have they not seen this weather? Or we've gone a little bit deep there. You can see that the weather, the dampness, the rain indicator is just creeping up from time to time. So just creeping up, dropping back, creeping up. It's creeping up just as I put a wheel off the dry line, but that weather is definitely coming in. I think we're going to stick with the inters for the moment as we have another batch of cars that are pitting. They've got to be taking off the intermediates and putting slick tyres on, because really this at the moment is slick tyre territory. There's no way that I should really be continuing to run on inters. The gap is 1 minute 53 to the cars behind, so I've got plenty of time to either back off, to take it slowly, to come in and do a pit stop. This strategy has really played into my hands, and yeah, just continuing to run without any problems whatsoever at the moment. We've had a couple of moments where the AI have hit us. I don't think I've had any self-inflicted issues thus far. We've obviously got the issue with the car, which continues to cause me problems. It's a little bit difficult for you to probably see that on the video, but I can feel it by listening to the engine and where I'm expecting to have revs and to be coming up through the rev range and getting the speed. I can feel that the car isn't quite right. So continuing to manage that particular issue, but it's not a big issue. It's one of those issues I could actually probably just ignore and it will go away. You can see there that I'm full acceleration, but still the turbo was just backing off slightly. As we come around here, I'm assuming that you all know the gauges. Basically we've got the race time at the far bottom left. You've then got the dampness, sort of the weather, track weather indicator. It's the amount of water that is down on the track and that we are picking up. So as I go across the wet parts, you'll see that the indicator will come up. As I go onto the dry parts, you'll see that it will drop. We then got the tyre indicators showing which tyres were on and damage to the car. We then got the speedometer. We then got the main weather radar, and then we've got the rev counter on the right hand side. Should have called those out earlier, but you probably knew what they were. The dampness indicator is one that a lot of people don't tend to know and use. I sort of use it a little bit, but I also look at the track and how the car is feeling, because at the moment it's saying that we should be on intermediate tyres. Well, we're on intermediate tyres, but to be quite honest, if I was on slick tyres, I would probably continue to run this race on slicks, because there is a definite dry area on the track, and if we can keep the slicks hot enough, then we should be absolutely fine. We've got more blue flags, so as we've got a car exiting the pit, that shouldn't worry us whatsoever. So just continuing to push on. Where are we at the moment? 2 minutes 16 ahead of McEwen in second. That is a silly margin to have, especially as we are on the hard setting. There really needs to be a super hard or a hard or another level up for this particular race. I thought it was going to be a tough one, or maybe the game has set this so that you can have a few issues and still quite comfortably get to the end of the race. So you can see that the track is a little bit more damp. The dampness gauge is up to half pretty much consistently at the moment. So definitely the right choice to be on the intermediate tyres. It looks like we're just heading through a darker blue sector on the weather map. We're then going to clear into the teal colour, and then hopefully that will be the weather over, although we've got a few clouds forming in the sky, but it still looks pretty grey around the track at the moment. So we'll just stick with the intermediates for the moment, I think. I was just going to give you a call out and say how far ahead of the second place racer we were, but we've actually got dashes now on the time to Kokubun. I've never seen that before. I don't recall seeing it before, where it is dashes for a long period of time. So I'm assuming that we are so far ahead, Gran Turismo doesn't want to record it. A little bit deep into the chicane, just thinking about the two cars in the front. We're going to go for another lap on the intermediate tyres. Starting to see a little bit of wear on the intermediate tyres now, and to be honest, I remember now at this point the car was beginning to slide around a little bit. I didn't have the braking performance that I had earlier on, and I was just minded that I needed to continue to look after these intermediate tyres if I want to continue on them. We've got 12 minutes to run, so we've got around about 6-7 laps to do. These intermediates could go all the way to the end. You can still see these cars that I'm overtaking are kicking up spray, so there is still moisture on the track, even though I can't see any rain in the air. And we are still under the teal conditions as far as the weather radar are concerned. So I think I'm just going to stick with the intermediates for the moment. And they're doing us proud at the moment. I mean, lap times, we've got a 2:38, 2:29, 2:28, 2:30. So 2:29, 2:28, 2:30 is all pretty much there or thereabouts. Considering that we're taking this a little bit easier. Remember, I think that we are on the fuel map 6 setting at the moment. So the power setting will be off slightly as well. And remember that I am nursing this car issue with the turbo. I'm hoping that turbo doesn't give out on us completely. That would be quite interesting. But as we come down through this corner, third gear, just nicely staying off the curbs for the moment. At the moment, I don't really want to put a tyre on the curb unless I'm really sure that it is settled, because I don't want the back end coming around and we start pirouetting down the road. So at the moment I don't know what the distance of the car behind is. Looking at the map doesn't really help me either, because it would be nice on the map if maybe the second and third cars were highlighted in a different colour. We're highlighted in red, but everybody else is blue. It'd be quite nice if maybe second was green and the third place was yellow, so you'll be able to see where those cars are in relation to you, especially as we don't have the distance in time on the screen. So that was a 2:29, so still continuing to rotate this track at around about the same sort of times. I'm going to have to assume that we're about 2.5 minutes ahead now. No idea. No idea. Our fastest lap is still the 2:15.9, which we did way earlier on in the race. But with these wet or damp conditions, I wouldn't be expecting to be improving on that anytime soon. As you can see, I'm still trying to push on. Came out the top of the rouge there, got a little bit out of shape. Braking down into this one, picking up the curb, third gear through there. I'm just going to leave it in third through here. This is all rather easy at the moment. Hopefully you're using the chapter markers and jumping through the video, because if not, I imagine this is going to be pretty dull at this stage. The thing is, I can't really even talk about braking lines and turning points because the track is damp and I'm treating every corner as if it's the first time I'm going through it. And when you run this, your track is going to be drying differently, I would assume, to mine. Either way, I hope that this video is helping you. If it is, please hit the like button. It would be really, really, really appreciated. And as I said earlier on, if you're new around here, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I would dearly love to have you following me, and it will really help me out a lot, a massive amount, if you could hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to have all of you following along. Thanks ever so much to those of you that are continuing to follow me. Over 500 subscribers now, which is absolutely awesome. As I said in the introduction, I've got lots of plans for my channel over the next sort of 2 or 3 years. I'm going to take it slowly and carefully, think things through. Live streaming is going to be the next thing that I'm going to be looking at doing. I've just got the last few bits of equipment that have been acquired. Not all the equipment that I would want. I'm going to be using some old cameras and things, so the video quality won't be quite so good. But it'd be good to be racing online against real people again. And of course I'm going to have to learn to race very differently. I'm not going to be able to throw it down the inside of people. I'm not going to be able to open doors with a slight rub of a bumper. It's going to need to be full non-contact when we go online. So again, I don't know how far ahead of the second place runner we are. Just looking for a little bit of moisture just to cool down these intermediate tyres, which are showing a little bit of wear. All very even wear at the moment, which is very nice, and not wearing too badly, but I am noticing that the car is sliding around a little bit more than it has been. Understandable with these intermediate tyres running on the dry line. There is still a little bit of moisture around, but we've got a definite dry line forming. So now the question is, with 6 minutes to run, do we stick with the intermediate tyres, or do we come in for slicks? I haven't got soft tyres. It'll be another set of mediums. Softs are not available to me. But do we come in, or do we continue? Well, I happen to know what we do, and stick with us. Because in my mind, the way that this car is running right now, I made the mistake. So you know I'm going to come in and change the tyres. I gave that one away right there, but I do come in and change the tyres, and it causes me some real headaches. So just for the moment, look at the way that this car is performing on these intermediate tyres. Not too bad. I mean, we're way off the lap times that we were setting at the beginning of the race. But we're setting 230s, 229s, 231s. I'd love to know what the cars behind are running as far as times. I can't gauge it because I've got zero indicator of time between myself and the cars behind. So all I can do is continue just to circulate the racetrack as we are right now. Obviously, if they are running significantly quicker, then we will be able to see. Now we do come in and pit this. Oh, this was a mistake. I really should have stayed with the intermediate tyres and just toughed it out. We got a massive margin to the cars behind. We're in clear air. The car's nicely balanced. The braking zones and everything were fine. And then I decided to come in and put racing medium slick tyres on. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Well, maybe I wanted to see the graphic, because this really annoys me. Look, they're putting intermediate tyres on now. I'm supposed to be taking intermediate tyres off and putting softs on, but the graphic is showing me that we're putting intermediates on and taking softs off. What's going on? Come on, PD, get this sorted out. That really annoys me. That's got to be just attention to detail that lets the game down slightly. Come on. So we're on racing medium tyres now. I need to keep it within the white lines, and bear in mind that the pit exit is going to be a little bit slippery because people aren't running on it. And as I say that, I put one wheel on the grass and we visit the barrier. That is a first indication that we've made a mistake in changing the tyres. All confidence evaporated right there, and I've got this Nissan Nismo is in the way as well now. Oh, putting a wheel on the curb to try and get by, and it's all getting very loose. I'm going to have to go offline to get past the Nismo, which is going to mean the tyres are going to be extra slippery and they're going to be wet now, so we're just going to need to be very careful through here. Again, you can see this car is twitching around all over the place. I need to keep all 4 tyres in the dry area of this track. I cannot afford to put a tyre on a wet curb or on a wet part of the track, and I really can't afford to let the Nissan through now, because there's a fair chance that I'm going to have to go off the racing line onto the damp track to make the move, which really means I'm going to struggle to do that under braking, or as we come out of a curb under acceleration. The only way I'm going to get by is down one of the straights, but for the moment we do seem to be dropping the Nissan. Have no clue how far behind, and that mirror, they always look a lot further back than they really are, but I'm just going to concentrate on my race at the moment and just really concentrate on making sure that we keep this car on the dry line. So down into the chicane for the 23rd time. A little bit deep. The trouble is, when you go deep now, you've got no steering, you've got no acceleration. The car is just, look at that, as soon as you try and get any acceleration down, as soon as the revs start getting up into the rev limiter on the screen, the graphic, the back end goes round. So right now I am taking it very careful. That Nismo is gone, but hey ho, we'll just not worry about that. Looks like Beauvoir in 3rd now was on the intermediate tyres. I really should have stayed on inters. I should have stayed on intermediate tyres. And I should have basically stayed on intermediate tyres, so I've not got all of this silly spinning that we're doing right now. Again, confidence in the car. You can see the way that I'm actually taking these lines. I'm trying to keep this purely in the dry line of this particular track. 100-meter board, just braking. So I'm braking early now, just to make sure that we are making these corners and that we are apexing as much as possible, whilst also trying to stay off the curbs as much as possible, although through there I was using the curbs. Through here I'm just going to come down to 2nd gear again, just on the curb, pushes me a little bit wide. Staying off the curb for this one now. Just getting on the curb on the exit, but we can gather that up without too much trouble as we head down to this fast right-hander. Just taking it in 4th gear. Oh, that's going to put us out wide. We should have chosen 3rd. Look at the issue that you have. Look how much time I am losing, and we still managed to put it around as well. A complete driver error. If I'd been on the intermediate tyres, that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened. I don't really know what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, okay, it's a drying track. It's definitely slick tyres. Let's see if we can put in some really nice fastest laps for the end of the race. I think that's probably what I was thinking. That's certainly not happened. The lap times have gone off. I mean, a 3:16 for the pit lap. I don't know what this one is going to be, but certainly it's not going to be good. We're on 2:15 already, and we haven't even got sight of the final chicane. We do now. So underneath the bridge, down into 2nd gear. Just get that rotated up over that curb, up over this curb, or just struggling again with the power. And then we come across the line for a very scrappy last lap. But we are out in front. We have got the gold trophy. Doubt if that's a clean race, but we've got the gold trophy. Lapped absolutely everybody. We did get the fastest lap of a 2:15. There is the trophy. More credits than I thought. 1.5 million credits, because we've got a clean race bonus. That was really unexpected, and rubbed salt in the wound as to why I backed out in the race earlier and didn't record it. I should have finished the race and then come back and done this one. But there we go. that is the car and the race settings and the strategy and everything that I used to very, very, very easily win this World Touring Car 800 at Spa. Great race, I really enjoyed that. As I said in the intro, had a little bit of everything. Really had me on my toes all the way through the race, even though it was a comfortable win. This is actually a race that I'm going to add to my grinding list, not because it is the quickest way of getting cash. You can certainly get cash quicker using the Le Mans track and Sardegna, and I think Tokyo Expressway, one of those races. But this one was just fun. With all those weather changes, it was just interesting with the night time as well. Just thoroughly enjoyed this. So if you're still with me, congratulations, well done. Thank you ever so much for continuing to watch the whole of this video. That's commitment right there. But thanks ever so much for watching. As I've said before, please hit the like button for this particular video because it really does help the channel. Hit the subscribe button if you're new around here to follow me and to watch more races like this and to see when I start going online, when the real racing starts. In the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. I'm going to call it a night and go to bed now. It is the early hours of the morning, and I will look forward to seeing you on another video coming very, very soon. For now, take care. Bye-bye.